Most people spend their lives chasing wealth like it's a shimmering mirage on the horizon, thinking if they just grind a little harder, stack some more hours, or push through with enough hustle, then the money will eventually come running their way. Yet, most stay tired, frustrated, and stuck in the same loop. Why? Because real wealth doesn't respond to chasing it, it responds to pulling it. Wealth isn't something that you hunt down, it's something you get aligned with. And the real gap between the ones who attract it and the ones who grind forever without breaking through isn't a better strategy. It's a different mindset. It's the moment you stop thinking like a hired hand and you start thinking like a builder. The second you stop asking, how do I get more money? And you start asking, how do I create value so money can't ignore me? Then everything shifts. You move from reaction to direction, from scarcity to abundance, from chasing to receiving. And once you make that shift, you don't go back. So let me ask you, what do you believe wealth is? Most people confuse wealth with income, but income is a stream. Wealth is a reservoir. Income is what shows up while you're working. Wealth is what stays when you stop. And wealth doesn't just land in your bank account. It shows up in how you think about time, about energy, about contribution. The person wired to attract wealth understands it starts with value. Every dollar in your pocket is tied to a choice someone made to exchange value with you. So if you want more wealth, here's the real question. How much value are you creating? And how needed, how rare, and trusted is that value? Because money flows toward value like water flows downhill. You don't chase the water downhill. You stand where it's headed and you let it come to you. So here's the shift. Stop thinking like an earner and start thinking like an owner. The earner trades hours for dollars. The owner builds systems that trade value for dollars. One is capped. The other compounds. The earner wakes up wondering how to make ends meet. The owner wakes up asking, how do I multiply what I've already built? That shift doesn't require a title. You don't need a company or a fat bank account. It does require a different set of decisions. You take the skills, knowledge, relationships, and habits that you already have, and you start converting them into assets. Things that keep paying you long after the work is done. Like a book, like a business, like a brand, even one key relationship that keeps creating opportunities. Owners don't just work hard, they work smart. And over time, smart out-earns hard. Labor runs out, wisdom scales. The person who attracts wealth doesn't see money as scarce, they see it as abundant. And it's not because they were handed riches, but because they've studied the patterns. They see that money is always moving. It's changing hands, it's shifting industries. It's flowing to those who can anticipate the needs and deliver the value. Scarcity says, there's not enough. But abundance said, there's more than enough. For the ones solving the real problems, this isn't naive optimism. It's disciplined belief backed by action. So when you move through life knowing that money is everywhere, you stop shrinking, you start expanding. You speak differently. You ask better questions, you share more useful ideas, and you put yourself around people who pull you higher. The world doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to certainty. And certainty comes from preparation, clarity, and the belief that there's already a seat at the table for you if you show up ready to contribute. So write this down. Wealth is attracted to responsibility, not dreams, not wishes, not even talent, unless that talent is managed. Look, if you can't handle $100, you can't manage 100,000. If you blow past details, deadlines, and discipline, the increases won't come. Not because you're not being punished, but because you're being protected. Wealth doesn't change who you are. It amplifies it. If you want more, you raise your capacity. You become the person who doesn't just earn, but stewards, who doesn't just hope, but plans, who doesn't just react, but anticipates. The world is always scanning for people who can be trusted with more. So let's talk about contribution. This is the golden thread in all wealth. Those who are wealthy in both mind and bank account understand that their income is directly tied to how well they serve. This doesn't mean servitude. It means create, innovate, lead. Wealth begins when you stop asking, what can I get? And you start asking, what can I give in the market that it will reward? And the market is fair. Not always immediately, but accurate at least. You sow, you reap. You give, you receive. If you become known as the one who solves problems and relieves pain and makes the complex simple, wealth will start looking for you. Not by force, but by resonance. And here's a truth that most miss. You have to see yourself as wealthy inside before it will ever show up on the outside. Most people wait until the numbers on the screen or in the bank account before they feel wealthy. The ones who actually get there, they start with the internal state. They think abundance, they speak gratitude, they act with integrity, live with vision, and from there they build the habits, relationships, and strategies that turn into results. Wealth is a daily practice. Is how you treat your body, your time, your commitments, your name. You either honor your potential or you sell it short. The ones who honor it, the ones who raise their standards and discipline their focus, they wake up one day to find wealth is chasing them. Not because they got lucky, but because they became magnetic to opportunity through character, contribution, and clarity. If you've been chasing money, pause, shift, ask, how do I become the kind of person that money can't ignore? Raise your thinking, raise your level of service, raise your self-image to match the level of wealth that you want. Wealth starts in the unseen and it flows through your thoughts, your habits, your identity, before it ever shows up in your bank account. If you get this one shift, that wealth chases those who create value, live in truth, and operate in clarity, then the chase ends. The building begins, and from there, everything changes. Most people never stop long enough to ask, what's my real relationship with money? They think about it, they worry about it, they chase it, but they rarely examine the deeper wiring that shapes how they see it. And that wiring, the mental scripts that are often inherited, unconscious, and self-sabotaging, if you are taught that money is scarce, evil, or only for other people, you unconsciously blocked yourself from earning, keeping, or growing your money. Your subconscious will literally work to prove itself right. If you believe wealth is wrong or dangerous, you'll find ways to lose or shrink back. That's why real work starts in the mind, not in the market. So until you shift your beliefs, your bank account can't rise. You might get lucky or hit some bursts of success, but it won't stick unless you change your self-image. The wealthy think differently. They don't see money as defining their worth, but they respect its power. They don't worship it and they don't resent it. They use it to solve problems. They use it to create leverage and expand opportunities. They've cut the emotional chains that most people have to money. They don't assign morality to wealth. They assign responsibility to it. And that responsibility creates freedom. They see money as a tool, one that builds when used well and one that destroys when used recklessly. So they study it. They learn how it works. The same way an athlete studies movement or a musician studies rhythm. Because once you understand the rules of something, you can work with it instead of working against it. And here's the thing. Your financial thermostat is set by your beliefs. And it will always pull you back to that setting unless you raise it on purpose. If you're used to surviving, your brain will resist thriving. If you're used to scraping by, prosperity will feel foreign, maybe even wrong. Until you reset that thermostat, every breakthrough will be temporary. The subconscious craves what's familiar. If wealth feels unfamiliar, it will sabotage. So change what's familiar to you. Start speaking with the language of wealth. Put yourself around people who normalize abundance. You shift your environment, you shift your inputs and your conversations about wealth. Not with arrogance, but with intention. With what you normalize, you magnetize. What you tolerate, you replicate. The choice is always yours. The way you talk about money reveals more about your future than the money you have right now. If your words are full of lack, I can afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy bastards. You're programming your mind to link wealth with fear, separation, and your brain will never run toward what it sees as dangerous. But when your language shifts to empowerment, how can I afford this? Or what value can I create to earn more? You open the gates of possibility. Your brain starts solving instead of stalling. Over time, those language shifts turn into lifestyle shifts. Words shape focus. Focus drives results. The wealthy know this. That's why they guard their language. They speak in terms of opportunity, not just obstacles. Growth, not just survival. Now let's talk about time, your most valuable currency. How you spend it shows what you truly believe about wealth. If your hours are eaten up by low-value tasks, if your days are full of reaction instead of creation, no amount of money will change your reality. The wealthy buy time, not trinkets. They invest in systems, automation, delegation, anything that multiplies their effort. They know the truth that most people miss. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. How you treat your hours now determine your options later. Ask yourself, am I using my time in ways that compound? Or am I reliving the same week over and over, hoping for a different kind of outcome? If you want wealth to find you, you first become the person who uses time in a way that attracts opportunity. Real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in options, in peace, in the ability to say no to what drains you and yes to what lifts you. That kind of freedom doesn't come from a number. It comes from a structure built daily, decision by decision, with discipline and vision. Builders don't wait for discipline to show up. They manufacture it. They keep their word even when it's inconvenient. They track things. They measure things. They optimize. Not because they're obsessed with money, but because they're building a life where money serves them, not the other way around. When your money becomes your servant, you stop fearing it. You stop fighting it. You start using it to multiply your impact and your peace and even your purpose. Money is a mirror that does nothing but reflect your patterns, your priorities, and your patience. If you don't like the reflection, don't judge it, change it. The person meant to attract wealth doesn't wallow in guilt or shame. They take ownership. If the money's not flowing, they get aligned. They study. They adjust. They ask better questions. They cut waste. They increase output. And they take responsibility. Because money flows to clarity. And when you're clear, consistent, and courageous, when you show up with purpose, contribute with intention, and lead with integrity, money finds you. The marketplace is always looking for someone to reliably reward. So here's the question. What shift will you make today? Not tomorrow, today. Will you start seeing yourself as worthy of abundance? Will you speak the language of wealth even if it feels new? Will you treat your time like treasure? Will you raise your financial thermostat and rewire your patterns? The shift doesn't happen all at once, but it does happen the moment that you decide to change direction. Once you're clear on your direction, momentum begins to build. Strategies appear. The right people show up, and wealth in money, options, confidence, and peace, it starts finding its way to you. There's a dangerous belief that many carry, that effort alone guarantees results. People are taught to equate hard work with reward. They believe if they grind long enough, success will eventually arrive. But effort without direction is wasted motion. Hustle without alignment, it's just noise. The market doesn't pay for effort, it pays for value. Not how many hours you work, but how well you solve. Results come from leveraged, high-impact action. And when you see that, the game changes. There's no prize for exhaustion, no medal for getting burned out. You don't get wealthy by depleting yourself. You get wealthy by aligning your energy with what moves the needle. That means stepping back and asking, what's multiplying my value? What am I building that will pay me later? Builders aren't obsessed with looking busy. They're obsessed with building things that last. They do less, but better. They go deep instead of wide, and that creates focus. Focus creates momentum, and momentum is what compounds, and compounding pulls wealth towards you, like gravity pulls mass. The wealthy understand this 80-20 Pareto rule, that 80% of the results come from 20% of the actions, and most of what you're doing isn't moving you forward. That's why they cut, delegate, or automate all the rest. They ask, what's the one thing that I can do today that makes everything else easier or irrelevant? Look, that's not laziness. That's wisdom. Because time isn't just money, it's life. If you're pouring your life into the things that don't build wealth, more money won't save you. You'll just waste it faster. So start now. Audit your actions. Raise your standards. Focus on what matters. And leverage. True leverage means doing something once and being paid repeatedly. Using systems, networks, and ideas to create exponential returns. Most people work linearly. 1 hour, $1. Wealthy build leverage. They write, they create, they invest, they mentor. They build things that keep creating value long after they've moved on. And they know the most powerful leverage isn't money, it's ideas. One idea, well executed, can feed a family for a generation. One solution can grow into a company, a movement, a legacy. Your ability to receive wealth is tied to your willingness to lead. Leadership isn't control, it's clarity, responsibility, and initiative. It's being the one who decides, who shows up, who goes first, who owns the outcome. The market pays for leadership. Solve bigger problems, take bigger risks, earn bigger rewards. Lead yourself first, though. Your habits, your time, your work, then lead others by example. Wealth follows leadership, and leadership starts inside. See yourself as an asset. You are the product. You are the investment. Every thought, habit, and decision is either appreciating or depreciating your value. Wealth flows into those who increase their value consistently. Not with charisma, but with competence. Become someone so reliable, so clear, so steady that the market takes notice. And here's one more truth. You've got to lean into problems as opportunities. The average person avoids them. The wealthy, they hunt them, because every fortune starts with a problem well solved. When you love problems, you lead. You design instead of react. Every company, breakthrough, and invention exists because someone saw a problem and said, I'll handle that, and wealth followed. Next time you're frustrated, flip the frame and ask, where's the opportunity here? How can I solve this better than anyone else has? Wealth starts not with more effort, but with new eyes. And the moment you choose alignment over activity, value over vanity, leverage over labor, you unlock a flow of wealth most never touch. Not because you're lucky, but because you're operating as a builder, a solver, leader. That choice changes everything. There's a moment in every wealth builder's journey when they realize doing it all alone is a ceiling. People cling to independence like it's a badge of honor, believing they have to carry the whole load themselves to build something meaningful. They take pride in being the hardest worker in the room, the first in and the last out. But real wealth, it shows up when you graduate from independence to interdependence. Not doing less, doing only what you can do, and empowering others to handle the rest. So the wealthy, they build teams, networks, alliances, not out of weakness, but out of understanding. They know nothing truly scalable was ever built by a lone wolf. And the moment you stop trying to do everything yourself, your growth stops crawling and starts compounding. Wealthy individuals think in systems, not tasks. The average person is stuck in lists and emergencies. Builders ask, how can this run without me? They create repeatable, scalable outcomes that don't depend on their constant presence. That's freedom. When income is tied to your systems, not your calendar. Systems scale while you sleep. They grow while you rest. They earn while you're silent. That's not fantasy, it's discipline. Another wealth lever, timing, not luck, rhythm. Knowing when to move, knowing when to hold, when to double down, when to walk away. The wealthy develop a rhythm by watching patterns, market shifts, emotional cycles, waves of demand. They don't just react, they anticipate. Because wealth isn't just about the right move, it's about the right move at the right moment. And that means preparing before the opportunity knocks. You position yourself before it arrives, because if you wait until it's in front of you, it's too late. Identity is another cornerstone. You can't build abundance while clinging to a self-image of scarcity. You can't attract wealth with the habits of someone who doesn't believe they deserve it. Expectancy, not hope, drives the wealthy. They expect results, not out of arrogance, but because they've aligned their actions, standards, and preparation to earn them. They carry themselves like it's already theirs. Not because they're faking it, but because they already decided who they are. Clarity is more magnetic than hustle. The person with clarity doesn't waste words or motion. They know exactly who they serve and what they deliver and why it matters. In a noisy world, clarity cuts through and draws the right clients, partners, and opportunities. So stop trying to be impressive and start getting clear. Define your value, sharpen your message, build your processes, then stay consistent until the market can't ignore you. The wealthy also drop their emotional addictions. They let go of the drama and the excuses and the identity of the struggler. Most people are more attached to their story of hardship than they are to their solution. The wealthy choose power over pity, results over reputation. They stop needing to be understood and start producing outcomes. Peace is also wealth. Real wealth isn't loud, it's calm, steady, rooted. It doesn't need to prove itself. It's visible in your calendar, your health, your home, your conversations. Peace isn't an accident. It's built, it's guarded, and it's chosen. It's focus over frenzy. It's calm over chaos. And when you lead from peace, you stand out because it's rare. Stewardship separates those who play wealth from those who keep it. Many want abundance but mismanage what they already have. They fantasize about millions while ignoring the dollars in their hand. Wealth responds to order, not emotion. The one who treats every dollar, every hour, every relationship with care, not fear, but with respect, signals they're ready for more. They assign purpose to their money. They build systems to protect their time, mind, and energy. They review, refine, and stay engaged. That engagement builds momentum. Momentum builds control. And control draws opportunity. Giving is another accelerator. When it's strategic, joyful, and intentional, giving shifts your identity from consumer to contributor. It tells your subconscious there's always more. It builds networks and relationships and goodwill that money can't buy. And giving isn't just about money, it's about time and attention, insight, connection. Done right, it multiplies far beyond the initial gift. Reflection is a habit the wealthy live by. They stop and ask, what worked? What didn't? Where did my time go? What decisions paid off? This keeps small mistakes from becoming big losses. And it turns experience into advantage. Speed without reflection burns you out. Speed with reflection puts you ahead. Relationships are capital. If they're the right ones, the people closest to you either expand your vision or erode it. The wealthy are intentional about proximity. They don't just network, they curate. They choose circles that normalize the life that they are building. Endurance matters too. Wealth creation isn't a sprint, it's a rhythm. There are seasons of growth, seasons of maintenance, seasons of refinement. Builders don't panic when progress slows, they zoom out. They measure in decades, not weeks. They're trained their emotions to serve their vision. Expectancy, not entitlement, fuels them. They walk into rooms looking for opportunity. They interpret challenges as setups. They keep moving even when results lag because they know they're aligned. Wealth is a mirror. It reflects your values, your patterns, your posture. It's not reserved for the chosen. It's created by the committed. When your habits and your environment and vision are aligned, you remove friction. That alignment becomes your engine. The chase ends and the building begins. And when you operate from that place, clear, disciplined, intentional, wealth can't help but find you.